Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Microsoft Flight Simulator, and today we are checking out Just Flight's latest release, the Hawk T1. This is going to be a really exciting video because as you can see this thing looks absolutely phenomenal, so let's go ahead and check it out. If you are interested in acquiring any of my Overkill's tutorial guides for Microsoft Flight Simulator, please consider joining me on Patreon. Patreon subscribers level tier 2 and above have access to all of my guides, as well as any future updates and future guides that will be coming down the road. Link to Patreon can be found in the description below. So as always, guys, remember that this is not so much a review as it is just a first impressions. I have walked through the documentation, which is extensive. Over 150 pages of documentation is included for this aircraft. Now, the cockpit took a bit to navigate around and figure out. I did do that ahead of time, but I have yet to get this thing off the ground, so we're going to do that together for the first time today here. Checking as we always do with the exterior textures, you guys, they have set the bar once again. Anyone who is making jets for this simulator should definitely be taking this as an example of what high quality is. This thing looks absolutely fantastic. I mean, this aircraft, in my personal opinion, could absolutely pass in DCS world. I mean, it just looks absolutely beautiful. The details, I mean, right down to underneath of the landing gears. Check this out, guys. It looks amazing. Look at that. All the detail, the hydraulic lines, everything that just perfectly modeled. The rivets, the hydraulic gauges up in here. I'm blown away. This thing is absolutely fantastic. The exterior textures are definitely nothing that bring any reason for concern. So let's go ahead and move into the cockpit. Stepping into the cockpit, very similar results, guys. It looks absolutely wonderful. There are a few areas that if you really got nitpicky, you could probably find. I'm certainly not going to be the one to point them out today because there's just no need to. Everything looks absolutely beautiful. I do recommend you guys set up a couple of custom cameras, one for the forward cockpit and one for the rear. But again, in the rear cockpit, same thing. Everything looks absolutely wonderful. No issues, nothing to be greatly concerned about. Now, we are missing a couple panels back here, but that is because we are in the basically a red arrows configuration. We're in an acrobatic configuration. We're not in a military configuration. The weapons panel would normally be right here, but we have that disabled for this video. We may check that out in a later video. Today, though, we're a couple of civilians who have gotten the opportunity to fly a Hawk T1. So let's go ahead and just jump right into the checklist, which even the in-game checklist is absolutely wonderful and very well done. So again, I have taken some time to sort of familiarize myself with the cockpit itself. Now, there are some things that I may still have trouble finding, so don't judge me too hard. But let's go through the initial checks here. We're going to start with the front cockpit here. Landing gear selectors. You're probably looking for a landing gear handle. This one doesn't have one. It's these two buttons right here. You have down and you have up here. Obviously, we want to make sure it's pushed in on the down position, and we're good to go. So let's give that a tick there. Battery switches are going to be back here in the back. Batteries 1 and 2 are off. Give that a tick. MCP and weapons control panel. These are both non-functional in the aerobatic configuration. Same with the mass. ISIS sight, that's the weapon sight, so we're not going to worry about that either. Stick top, that's going to be a safety cover switch that would normally be up here on top of the stick. We can go ahead and tick that as well. Oxygen selector, you're going to find that on your right leg here on the right panel here. Set that to the on position. Verify the amount of oxygen you have. You have a full tank of oxygen here, and we should be seeing fuel flow once we get the batteries going, which we'll be monitoring up here later on. Let's give that a tick. Rear cockpit. Let's come to the back seat. Now, this is a requirement. Make sure that you guys do follow all this. Otherwise, you're going to have issues. All right, so engine start switch is going to be this guy right here. We're going to set that to the middle position for the on. Tailplane standby trim. That's this cover right here. So you're going to make sure that that cover stays down. You can see cover down. Okay, anti-skid switch for the rear seat goes to the forward position for on. Standby UHF, that's going to be this switch right here. Let's zoom in a little bit here. You can see it's in the main positions on the center position by default. And again, landing gear selector should be down. Now, this can be a little weird. When we push down, you can see this red button comes forward. What happens when that red button comes forward is it takes control of the landing gear from the front seat to the rear seat. So this part of the checklist is a little odd to me because what happens is you push the down position, but then when we select that, right? And then we need to transfer hit the transfer button back to the forward seat, and that's going to bring that button back out. So I'm not quite sure. I think the checklist should really just read to make sure that button is pushed in, unless you're flying from the rear seat, in which case you would need to push the down position to take command over. Okay, so we obviously want that in the forward position. Flap selector to the pupil position. You have up, pupil, and down. We're going to go ahead and leave that in the middle position. Let's see here. That's going to be weapons panel. We're not going to worry about that. Stick top, again, that's going to be up on top of the safety, or on top of the stick switch here. That's that guy right there. Okay, stick top, we want to make sure that's in the safe position, which is pushed in. Lighting switches are all off. That's going to be over here. You have your panel, your emergency lights, and your compass lights. And then, once again, the oxygen selector, just like we did in the forward seat. All right, so boom. That is, that's that one done. Oop, bring that back. And let's move forward once again. And now let's move forward into the strapping in checks. This is done so well. Rudder pedal lock. This one took me forever to find. I'd never seen a rudder pedal lock, but it's this lever right here. With that lever down, you should have rudder pedal authority. With it extended, you will not. You can push your rudder pedals all you want. They won't do anything. So make sure that's down. Battery switches. Oh, let's tick that. Let's now turn our batteries on. So it's going to be batteries 1 and 2. Boom. There we go. You can see a bunch of the trim indicators and different things came to life there. Master caution switches. Click one or both until the master caution silences. And navigation lights come to on. That's going to be on our lighting panel. Same position as it was in the rear seat. We just have more up here. Give that. CCS amplifier switch to norm. That's going to be this red switch right here. You can see it's in the norm position by default. Give that a tap. Parking brake. It's going to be back here. You can sort of see the edge of it right here. If I move the camera forward, boom, there's our parking brake. Extension by default, so the parking brake is on. Now the parking brake was pushed in for off, extended for on. So it's on by default. Chocks, flag covers, and steps removed. So we're going to tick, 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 and then we're going to move down here to the iPad here, or whatever you want to call this, and we're going to tick those off. And if we return to the external view, you can see all of the static models are now missing, and our pilots have boarded the aircraft. So fantastic. I love that the pilots aren't there, and then once you complete these checks, all of a sudden you're in the seat. It's kind of a cool little thing. The little things like that really do make me happy. Now let's move forward into the internal checks. Left console. All right, LP lock. That's going to be this fuel handle right here. This is your fuel cutoff switch. So down, fuel flow, up, fuel stopped, right? So we're in cutoff, and now we're fuel flow is enabled. So make sure that's down. Otherwise, again, you're not going to get an ignition. So give that a tick. Engine start switch stays in the off position. Good to go. Fuel pump switch. Let's flip that to the on position. Pitot heat switch stays in the off position until we're ready for takeoff or taxi. Tailplane standby trim cover. Once again, make sure that guy stays down. Ignition switch. That's going to be all the way up here in the forward left knee panel up here, or the left panel. Okay, so this is the knee panel. It's going to be down here. This is your ignition switch. It's in the normal position by default. All right, throttle HP off. Okay, this is basically, again, a throttle lock is what it is. It's your throttle cutoff. So in this position, the throttle is in idle. Back here, we're in cutoff again, okay? So I know that I used cutoff over here on the LP switch. I'm just trying to give reference here, but it's actually the LP fuel cock on and off switch. This is on, and then you have your throttle cutoff with the with the lock on. I read damper at the same time. Okay, so boom, that's done. Anti-skid remains off. That's our anti-skid switch here. That's in the center position, on, then off. We want to leave that off. Standby UHF. Only military aircraft use the UHF, ultra high frequency radio. That's going to be this guy here. Now it says, oh, sorry, disregard. I'm ahead of myself. That's this guy right here. Here's our UHF switch. We want that in the main position. We're going to come up top in just a minute. Brake gauges. Check your pressure. So here's our brake gauges right here. If we depress them, boom, you can see the pressure's being bled as we depress the brakes, as we would expect. All right, so we're good there. All right, let's keep moving down here. Give that a tick. Let's go to left instrument panel. All right, undercarriage emergency handle is not pulled. There we go. Good to go there. Flap standby handle right above it. Again, same thing, not pulled. Landing gear indicating 3 green gears are down. Voltmeter, 23 volts or greater. That's going to be green or greater. So you can see there's 22 and 23 into the green. Okay, so we're right on the edge there. If we leave the aircraft running too long, we will drain the battery. So flap selector, we want to make sure it's in the up position. That's this guy right here. Flap indication showing 0 flaps. All right, and we can confirm up UHF radio. This is the one I was talking about, ultra high frequency radio. That's this guy right here, and it says on. What you want is main, okay? And so we're going to keep coming down here, and these are going to be all weapon selection and weapon control systems. We don't have any on board, so we're just going to tick on through these and call them complete. All right, now let's move over to our center and lower gauges. DGI, that's this one right here. You want to make sure the flag is retracted. An example of a flag is this guy right here, this right here. Those are both flags. Okay, so we want to make sure the flag is missing, and it should happen at the time that we turn on the battery power. Turn and slip indicator, again, no flag. Accelerometer reset, simply give us a push. Accelerometer, oh, we can clear that master caution. Accelerometer is your G load on the aircraft. So you can see it's currently reading almost 1.5, almost 2 Gs. So we just click that, set it back down to 1 G as what should be, which is standard gravity. What you're feeling when you're walking around, just, you know, enjoying your time sitting in your chair, you know, on the planet Earth, you're experiencing 1 G. All right, and main attitude indicator flag is showing. HSI, horizontal situation indicator flag is showing. AHRS control unit, let's go grab that, and we're going to move this rotary over here into the slave position, and again the HSI flag should then at that point retract. ISIS control unit, that's our sight, again it's not on. ILS marker light, that's going to be this little guy right here. You can see ILS marker right there. Give that a tap, it illuminates, we're good to go. That will illuminate when we are tracking the ILS glide slope. UHF power switch should go to the off. I'm not going to do that part because that doesn't make any sense, because we want the radios on. All right, main altimeter flag should be showing here. Where's our main altimeter? There it is right there. Flag is showing. Standby attitude indicator. Flag has been retracted, and all standby instruments. So we have standby, standby, and then these are all of our engine gauges. So those are going to be obviously as is. All right, so go ahead and give that guy that. And we also have our vertical velocity indicator down here as well. And we're set to go. All right, right instrument panel. Oxygen on the warning panel, oxygen light switch should be out. You can see oxygen is flowing as we see here by this little bobber going up and down. That means you do have oxygen actively flowing. Again, there's our oxygen instruments. Let's read that up. So oxygen light is out, oxygen contents over half a tank of oxygen ready to go, and we've confirmed oxygen flow. Fuel gauge, we're running a little low, I've never flown this aircraft before. Like I said, we haven't been airborne, so I'm actually going to put a little bit more into it. I don't know why I went into that menu. I meant to go into the weights and balances menu. All right, so let's go ahead and pull that forward a bit, add some gas onto this thing. There we go. That's better. There we go. Reading about 1,000 kilograms. That should be good for what we're going to do. We're just going to tool around a little bit, do some flying, and then we'll call it quits here. All right, so rotation indicator. That's this guy right here. All right, that's going to give us, when it is green, lets us know that the engine turbines are starting to rotate. GTS, I can't ever remember what GTS stands for. I've looked it up 3 different times, remembered it, and then forgot it again. This time, you're just on your own. But it is also showing black. Caution warning panel, that's this guy here. We want to open up the cover hit or switch, give it a tap, make sure all of our emergency annunciators or warning annunciators illuminate. Give that a tap there. Lighting switches as required. Clear the master caution again. All right, and let's see here. Lighting again switches as required. So here we have anti-collision lights. We're not going to turn them on yet, but down for red. So that's going to be prior to engine start. White prior to takeoff. Basically your strobe lights. Panel lights. You want to turn those on. You flip that switch. Then use, your rotaries to adjust the lights. Okay. Let's bring those down. And you can set those, like if you know you're going to be in a night flight at some point during your flight, you can preset the rotaries and just flip that panel switch off. And then when you flip the switch on, boom, your lights are as desired. So that does make that kind of handy. I do that often in DCS World with F-18, F-16, sometimes when I'm flying them. All right, CCS, push-to-talk is in the norm position. That's this switch down here. Okay, so there's alternate and there's norm. VHF radio goes to on. This is going to go to transmit and ground. Give that a tap. IFF SSR is going to go to standby. TACAN goes to transmit and receive. It's going to be this one right here. Take it all the way over. ILS, and remember, only military aircraft use TACAN. ILS can go up to the ILS position as required. We really don't need it today, but we'll leave it as is. Cabin pressure goes to the normal switch, or cabin conditioning, excuse me. Cabin air temperature switch stays in the auto position as is. Canopy, let's get that beautiful lady closed. So let's come up top here. Reach up, grab the handle, pull it down. and lock the canopy. All right. So we are ready for engine start. Let's move forward here. Pre-start sequence, engine start switches to on. So there's our engine start switch, moves to the on position. And anti-collision lights need to come down to the red position. So that's going to go down with those switches. And we can come outside and see if we can see those real quick. See it illuminating. There it is right there. Looking fantastic. Let's jump back into the seat. And starting... Oh, let's tick that item. Starting the engine. Relight button. That's going to be this button right here on the throttle. It's used for an air start relight as well. We're simply going to give that a tap for a second. Listen to these sounds, and I'm going to try to keep my mouth shut. All right, GTS is now indicating green, so we're going to move our engine start switch forward once again and release it. And now monitor engine RPM. You can see we're getting rotation, looking for about 15 degree or 15%. Rotation indicator indicating green, RPM 15 to 20%. We're there. Throttle now goes to the idle position by simply tapping that little lock right there. And engine should idle at about between 50 and 60%. Oops. Like I said, the documentation for this aircraft is absolutely fantastic. Over 150 pages of information on this aircraft. I highly recommend you guys go through it. I haven't gotten through to the landing portion yet, so we're not going to be landing today. I mean, there's a ton of information, I'm telling you guys. So definitely take the time to read through it. And the next video, we'll definitely be checking this thing out in further detail. So, indication or GTS indicator, rotation indicator, fire out. All warning lights are now out. And rotation and GTS are black. RPM 50% or greater. Caution warning panel. Oil, FPR, and trans caution are all out. Good to go there. Actually, trans, I can't really tell, honestly. With that lighting, it's a little difficult. I think it's out. Because it's been like that the whole time, so. Flight controls free and correct. Simulating. Yes, I can promise you they work. Hydraulic 2 reset. This one took me forever to find this darn button. It's this guy right here. Give that a push. Let go. Good to go. And then here, like I said, you know what? Let me move the sun because that's what's making this difficult. Let's bring the sun around a bit. There we go. That'll work. All right. So yeah, all the warning lights were out. We should only see the anti-skid off or light on. All right. After start procedures, trim. So here's our elevator trim. We have ailerons and rudder trim all at neutral. Air brake. You want to make sure that you map toggle spoilers to one of your controls if you're flying this jet. If you're using a HOTAS, which I highly recommend, hands on throttle and stick. Again, map toggle spoilers is what you want to look for. Now we're going to come out here. We're going to go to the test position. And the reason why you have to put this into the test position is because by default, most military aircraft, or a lot of military aircraft, I should say, have the spoiler actually on the bottom of the aircraft. F-14 is one of them. This one's one of them. I think the F-16 has one that goes up and down. F-14 also goes up and down. And so those aircraft, any of the aircraft where the speed brake is down below the aircraft, with weight on wheels, they won't deploy. Otherwise, if you have them extended while you're landing, you're going to tear them right off the aircraft, right? So coming out here with that test switch in the forward position, we're going to toggle that button. Up. Let me make sure. There we go. Make sure you hit C if you need to act or enable your controls in the exterior view. Remember that enables it and disables it. Test it, verified, it works great. Tap C again, come back forward, and we can verify that that is all in good. All right. Pitot heat switch comes to the on position as we're getting ready to get out of here. Flap selector goes to the mid position. Boom, there it is. Flaps coming down. Looks like about 20 degrees for flaps for takeoff. Ooh, 25 degrees for takeoff. Got that. Hydraulic gauges, pressures all checked and verified. Everything's looking good. Test and set altimeters. We're going to cheat and use the B key on our keyboard today. Altimeter pressure now set. Warning flags. All warning flags on the gauges and instruments are clear. Attitude indicators are erect. Compass sync, we should be looking at about 240 degrees. Lined up and accurate. Good to go. Tick that item. And DJI navigation instruments and ISIS set as required. We are now ready for taxi. Let's get out of here. Alright, we can turn our Garmin on with this little red button right up here. If you want to use it, we're not worried about it today, but we'll turn it on just to demonstrate. Alright, taxi area more or less is clear. So we're going to call that. Parking brake, let's go ahead and release that guy. Give it a tap down there. Anti-skid switch should come to the on position. I think I missed that in the previous checklist. Alright, so we're going to tick that. Add quite a bit of power to get her moving. Alright, she begins to roll. Test the brakes. Brakes are good. Flight instruments, once again, free and correct. And let's go ahead and get rolling. Oh, there's the anti-skid switch. So I guess it shouldn't be on yet. For some reason I thought it was. Alright, but we should have the taxi light on. That was missing as well. Why do we have a master caution? Oh, it's because of the anti-skid. Alright, sorry about that. The boss called me. Alright, so let's see where we're at here. Alright, so that's all before takeoff. So let's go ahead and just get going out here. Come on, brakes. Release. Come on. Now it does have nose wheel steering, but as many of us are discovering, the real aircraft I don't believe did. Let's go ahead and, oh, turning too soon. Although it turns very sharp, so be ready for that. That one caught me by surprise. Like I said, I have yet to taxi. This is my first time actually going anywhere with the aircraft, so this is kind of fun. As we're taxiing, we'll review this. Alright, so trims are on neutral, pitot heat switch is on, anti-skid switch is on, fuel gauge, we already did it, flap selector is on mid, landing light is on, we did get that. That's down here. Anti-collision lights now move to the white position. And I know we're ahead of time, guys. I know we are. Just try to save time in the video. I know it's kind of a long one when it's my first time doing a full start tutorial like that. Let's see here. Anti-collision light set to wipe. Or wipe? Yeah, that's good. That's healthy. Alright, and take up brief. So the only thing we need to make sure that we hit is the anti-skid. And then we'll be ready for runway checks. IFFR, or IFF, we got set. Lights are set as required. Altimeter is set as required. Masses as required. Weapon control panel, we don't have to worry about that. RPM, we're going to go basically to max power. So it's going to go to 100%, and then you're going to be watching this little gauge to be about the 4, which would indicate 104%. And max temperature on the engine is going to be 665 degrees Celsius. All we really have is the exhaust temperature to look at, but it works. And we're going to ramp it up while holding the brakes. Alright. Now, for takeoff, we did already set our flaps to flaps 25 degrees. Did I pass my boarding point? No, not yet. Almost. We're going to be powering up to 90 knots. At 90 knots, we'll be pulling nose wheel weight off the nose, letting her pull up just a little bit. At 120 knots, we'll be rotating. Gear up by 200 knots. Flaps up about the same time. Gosh, yeah. Get ready for the nose wheel steering. It's very responsive. I love the canopy. Oh, gosh darn it. This is going to be a cool one in VR. I can't wait to try this and see how it performs. Did I say performs? Why can't I talk today? Alright, so remember, while depressing the brakes, we're going to be basically ramping the engine up to full power, looking for 104%. After brakes release, we're going to be looking for 90 knots. At 90 knots, we're going to be pulling nose wheel weight off, and then at 120 knots, rotating for takeoff. Gear up by 200 knots. So, let's lock and load. Dun 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 dun. Some of those. Oh! Almost failed. Anti-skid. Now we're ready. Back to max power. Listen to that. Hallelujah. All right. And releasing those brakes. And nose wheel steering automatically disengages. So we're using rudder authority. There's 90 knots. Pulling the weight off that nose wheel. Holding it. Oh, trying to hold it. Little getting used to. All right, airborne. 150 knots. Gear coming up. Flaps up. And indicating. Pull that power off of max power. That's why we got the master caution. Oh my God, that's beautiful. Listen to those sounds. As we rotate around the aircraft, it's perfect. Oh my gosh, they did beautiful. That's how it's done, folks. That's how it's done. Just Flight, you did it again. All right, now let's do the fun part. Smoke control on. And all we gotta do is select a color. Boop. And there's red smoke on. Rip it and grip it. Listen to that G breathing. Oh, man. Oh, you guys are going to have fun making your own air shows with this guy. Whew! Did you guys see that rotation? Look at this rotation. Oh, man. All right, I've never really tried quarter turns. Let's see it. Let's see. I'm not quite getting it. Nope, I'm doing too much. I can't do it. Oh, man. Guys, especially those of you who join us in the group flights, we need to come up with an aerobatic team. Call it Overkill's Fireballs. We'll figure out how to make a livery for it. It's going to be great. And these are all of our different colors. So it looks like you can do red and white. Really? Yes, you can. Pump multiple types of smoke out. Looking at 150 knots. Let's bring her back around. Oh, those G breaths are beautiful. Let's see what we're pulling here. Looking at about 5 Gs. Closing on 6. Take me on your mighty wings tonight. Down, 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 down. Dude, this is the best jet I have seen for this simulator yet. Whoa! Okay, guys, this is about as realistic as it comes. I am blown away by this simulator, or this simulation of the Hawk T1. Highly recommend it. $50. Take my money by all means. I'm so glad that I purchased it. I was skeptical. Obviously, really none of the jet releases that have hit the simulator have been something to bring home and brag about. Honestly, the best one that I've seen thus far prior to this was the free version of the Raptor, the F-22. The other jet models, yeah. And this one, here, like I said, here's my money. I'm glad that you have my money. This was absolutely beautiful and incredible joy to fly, guys. I cannot wait to fly this thing again. I cannot wait to try it in VR. This thing's going to be intense. Like I said, group flight ideas. I've already got ideas popping up with this aircraft. We're definitely going to be trying out the Mach Loop in this thing. This is going to get absolutely wonderful. Super, super stoked. Thank you, Just Flight, for all the hard work. I am so proud to be a part of that. As a part of representing, I should say, your hard work. That sounded bad. You guys knew what I meant. Being able to display it, okay? I mean, it's fantastic aircraft, guys. I'm literally sitting here. I'm sure you can hear it in my voice, smiling ear to ear. This was an absolute joy to fly. It was a joy to start up. The realism, the sounds, the immersion, the way the sounds were modeled, the textures, the way the aircraft flew. It was tough. Like, that was good. I absolutely deserved to plow into the ground on that one. I was trying to fly it like some of the other less well-modeled aircraft, and not this one, man. It wasn't letting me. So, guys, if you own the Hawk T1, let me know what your experiences are. For those of you who get it after watching this video, definitely come back and tell me what you thought of it. I'd like to hear back from you guys. And as always, have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys.